Hi, thanks for having me on.
Hi everybody, and welcome to another episode of Gravel Union Talks. Gravel Union Talks is a podcast series full of inspiring stories, news and events from the world of gravel. Each month we will be talking with guests who are passionate about riding off the beaten track, adventure riding, bikepacking and gravel racing. I'm your host Carlo in the Netherlands, and behind the microphone in Newcastle, UK, it's Olly. Olly, how you doing?
Very good, thank you. How's things in Holland?
It's sunny over here. Tour de France is on, so everything's good. We also have a star guest, Heather. We will be talking to her a little later. For today's episode, we're heading across the pond to chat with professional gravel racer Heather Jackson. Some of you may know Heather from her days as a professional triathlete, but she switched. She saw the light to the world of gravel. Also a multi-time Ironman World Championship podium finisher, so that's quite an achievement. We thought she would make the perfect guest to talk about racing, recons and results. So we'll get back to her a little later. But first, Olly, what's been keeping you? We've been having this podcast gap of like maybe 2 or 3 months. But people were mailing and asking what happened to you guys. Are we in a fight? Do we have a quarrel?
They must be thinking we've been sitting here with our feet up, just not working at all. But we've just been busy, haven't we?
Yeah, it was quite busy. We had a lot of events. We met up in Valkenburg in the Netherlands for an alliance partner get together, and I'll be visiting Newcastle in a month. So
great.
Maybe we could do a recording in Newcastle next month.
Yeah.
So then we have a UK edition only. Well, let's head over to the website, because that's what we always do in the podcast. The biggest news item of the last month or two, Olly.
It's quite a lot. I had to look back through what we've published, and it's a huge amount. But I'm going to do a really recent one, and I'm going to talk about coffee, because everybody needs coffee.
Yeah, sure.
For Heather, it's only 8 o'clock in the morning when she's talking to us, but for us, we're falling asleep because it's nearly the end of the day. So we had last week some gravel coffee delivered. I had an email and said, "There's some coffee on the way to you. Hopefully you like it." And it came from a company called the Chimney Fire Coffee Company, who have become partners with a company called Gravel, and they Gravel make clothing and other kind of gravel related kit, but they've done a partnership with a limited edition set of coffee beans that turn up in a water bottle. And it was absolutely delicious. So I've had really nice coffee all week.
Well, that's your big advantage as an editor-in-chief. You get all the good stuff.
All the good stuff, exactly it.
But it was nice.
Super good, yeah. It was, and it's very eco-friendly as well. It came in a water bottle that you can reuse, and they have what's called Corp B accreditation, so they're very green and eco-friendly, very ethical.
Yeah, I actually
tasted good, and
I actually read that it's from a family farm in Brazil, if I'm not mistaken.
Exactly it.
So that's very nice. And the most popular stories of last month's Olly on gravelunion.cc.
2 totally different ones, and I thought the first one we're going to do is about racing, because we've got Heather on and it seemed appropriate. It came from an event in Finland that's called Finland Gravel, but without any vowels in it, so it's Finland Gravel. And it was put on by Tiffany Cromwell, who's a professional racer, and her husband, or partner rather, who's a Formula One driver. And it seemed to have been super successful. Basically anybody in the gravel world went out there to take part, and it looked really fun. So yeah, that was very popular.
Yeah, I also Skuj. I always have difficulty pronouncing his name, but Skujin. I don't know how to pronounce it exactly, but he won. So
no, I don't.
Yeah, it's too difficult. He won, and what we see in Europe, and we'll have a chat on that with Heather a little later. But is that pros, former pros, everybody's entering the world of gravel racing, which is very, very exciting. So to see that, like your regular rider can also compete with the real talented pros.
Yeah.
So sometimes people think, well, maybe I have a chance. Most of the time, no, you don't. But that's another story. And an armchair story.
Yeah, this one was from an event that's in the old Eastern Europe. It's Croatia and trying to think what other countries it even starts in. Finishes in Italy, starts in Croatia, and it does a couple of other ones. I'm afraid I forget where else they went to.
In the Balkans, just say in the Balkans.
In the Balkans, exactly it. And the couple that wrote the story were super excited about doing it, but to cut a very long story short, had a whole bunch of problems, one after the other, weather related, mechanical related. And so it was a story of how they saved their event and still had a good time, even when everything went wrong.
Well, if you think you're having a bad day, read the story. Then you know that people are a little worse off sometimes than you. So they thought
absolutely.
that it would be a sunny, easy breeze ride, and they had one misfortune to the other, bad weather, mechanicals. But that's life. Talking about mechanicals, I think Heather has an unbound story on that as well, which is well, maybe it's a good bridge to our main guest. But before we head over to the main guest, there is this professional bumper we have to use. Well, that was mighty professional, Olly. Well, welcome, Heather Jackson. How you doing?
Hi. Good. Thanks for having me on.
Well, it's great to have you. I mean, we're honored and privileged. Maybe you could start by introducing yourself to our audience, mainly Europeans.
Yeah, for sure. My name is Heather Jackson, and I am a recent, as you mentioned, transfer over to gravel cycling primarily. I'm coming off of about a 15-year career as a professional triathlete. So definitely have the endurance in the bike miles, but kind of just recently transferred to off-road. So yeah, and prior to that, I actually came from a childhood. I grew up in New Hampshire, so East Coast in the United States, cold winters. So I came off of about 20 years of playing ice hockey. So that's my original, I guess, athletic background. I played ice hockey collegiately. I was trying for the 2006 Olympic Games. I did not make the final team, but it was right after that in 2006 that I kind of found my way into triathlon after 20 years of ice hockey. So primarily racing Ironman, at least the last, I would say 8 to 10 years, with every year my goal was Kona, the Ironman World Championships in October. So I raced Kona last October. And I kind of knew at that point that it was just time for something new, basically. And I had been gravel riding the last, I would say, 2 or 3 years on any of my kind of aerobic days, any day I didn't have specific work to be doing on my TT bike, and just found that those were the days I was just so excited for, and found like true happiness out on the bike versus, okay, time to get on the TT bike. I've got, 6 by 20 minute efforts to do today. Like, I had been doing that for so long. So for me, the fact that now gravel racing is growing and an actual, thing that's really, really popular now, I just felt so grateful that I could make this transfer over from triathlon after 15 years in that sport. So yeah.
It must be really good just to kind of, you can think differently, you get to use different skills, you get to perhaps use your background in a different way, but you're still doing something on a bike. It's still fun. You're still using your fitness and your experience of racing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've done, I've primarily always raced in the US. All of my sponsors, my entire triathlon career are US based. So I've found, if I look back on my triathlon career, I was at the same races every single year for probably 10 years straight. And so after a while, when you go to the same events, it's time for something new. And for listeners who aren't familiar with triathlon, I would say my bike and then eventually my run were my two strengths, but primarily the bike. I would always get out of the water last or one of the last people out. I just never was able to get that swim. And so I'm coming from a career of just always chasing, but I had that bike strength. So to be able to come into a new space where it is my strength, I have that endurance, I have the riding legs, especially coming off ice hockey as well. To be able to now go to new events, new places, check out new areas of the world in the sport of the 3 in triathlon that was my strongest. It's really, it's just really fun and refreshing and new, and I'm re-inspired and motivated. So it's been a great, whatever it's been now, 6-7 months of putting my focus towards that and kind of enjoying my first year as a gravel racer. Is it officially a professional
it is.
thing?
You're officially official now. We chatted first of all back in February, March time this year, just before you'd even started doing any gravel races. And we talked about your plans and your preparation that you'd done over the winter. And now you've actually started racing. So I guess the first question is, how has it gone so far?
Yeah, it's been pretty awesome. I mean, I think I've been able to check out quite a few new events in this spring, which, some amazing ones that I will definitely have back on the calendar next year. I know when we spoke, I had made it clear that my biggest goal was Unbound, which was about a month ago now. And so all of those events I kind of did in the lead up were for preparation for that event. I unfortunately had an uncontrollable mechanical happen at Unbound that really set me back and made it not the day I was really training and prepping for, which was really a big bummer, but it's also something that comes, I think, with the gravel racing, in terms of your off-road. You have all these other external things you have to deal with beyond just, okay, my preparation, my fitness, how I stack up like fitness wise. So Unbound, that was definitely a disappointment. But prior to that, I think I started my season at Mid-South Gravel, which was in Oklahoma in March. And I ended up third at that event, which I was super excited about. I was kind of using it as just a long day, good practice off-road before heading to, I think the next one was the Belgian Waffle Ride San Diego. And I had targeted that event because it was in Canyon's US-based headquarters out in San Diego. And I really wanted to, I've partnered with Canyon this year, and to have their support and have that team there, I wanted to, try to show there. And I was able to break the tape, which was really awesome. And that event was just really cool. I mean, it was a mixture of everything: road, off-road, sand, kind of cyclocross type areas. Like you literally had everything, which that was one of my
suited
favorite
your skill
events
set down to the ground.
What was that?
It suited your skill set really well then. If you've done in the past, you've ridden a lot on the road, but you've also been a cyclocross racer.
Exactly. And the length and distance, like those longer ones where it really does come down to endurance and kind of having that 8-9 hour endurance window from Ironman for so long. Like those longer days for me are certainly beneficial for sure. What else did I do? This April, I actually went out to Tennessee with fellow Canyon rider Pete Stetna. He kind of had organized this FKT attempt and invited me along to go for it. And part of his motivation was just checking out kind of the Tennessee gravel. He had never been to the area, but had heard amazing things. And that also was literally one of my favorite trips of the year so far. For listeners who are looking for a cool area to check out in the US or good gravel riding, this was insane. And it's an area that really, I don't think is talked about too much. But yeah, the Cherokee Mountains where we were are just incredible for riding. We did an FKT, a route. It was a 130-mile route out there for time, but then drove to a different area of Tennessee for a race that was 2 days later. So we kind of worked in two different areas of the state, and it was both areas were honestly just incredible for gravel riding. So that was another fun event. That was April as well. Made my way up to Sea Otter for the first event of the Lifetime Grand Prix. That was, I didn't fare the best there, but I also made some very big rookie mistakes early on that just, set me back in the single track. So that event, I mean, I didn't go into it thinking I would, I don't know. I had no expectations. It was my first mountain bike event ever. So, I think I walked away like I'm going to target more the gravel events, I think.
Okay. What was the biggest problem you found? The actual technical skills that you were lacking, or just what was it about it that made it hard?
No, well, okay. So the biggest thing everyone talked about was being up front going onto the single tracks section. And we started on this racetrack, like a car motorway racetrack. Yeah. And not being, they had call up. So a lot of the women got called up who are the mountain bike and also Lifetime Grand Prix leaders. So fair enough. But I was probably, I don't know, 8 or 9 rows back. And so I was like, I need to get up front to get onto the single track. So while most everyone is on the paved raceway, there was this inbounds area that was a sand. But I was like, okay, I'm going for it. I have to like try to get up further before the single track entrance. And I tried to just like make a move on the sand. So this is literally, I don't know, 500 meters into the race, and hit bars with someone. I went down like a quarter, like I went down 5 minutes into the race, just trying to make that move up there. So that just set me back because I was, 20th or 30th into the single track. So all day was just trying to crawl back.
Chasing.
Yeah. It's tough to pass on single track. I wasn't figuring that out very well of like when is okay to go by someone, or because it was super like tight, and it was just skills that, I can see how more practice would help.
Mountain biking is a completely different ballgame, I think. You mentioned you have a cyclocross background. When did you get that experience as a racer, as a cyclocross racer?
Yeah, I wouldn't say like cyclocross like history, but early on. So right after ice hockey, right after college, I moved out to California, got a teaching job. I met my now husband, boyfriend at the time, and he was racing kind of cross, the track, the road, everything that is in San Diego, kind of all those local races. So in the fall, I would jump in. There was a pretty extensive cyclocross series down there. So only, I would say, a year or two of it, but I did have.
Well, you take that along with as an experience, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
so it will
exactly.
help. It will most definitely help out with your gravel racing. Sometimes you need those skills also. Mountain biking is a little bit more skilled, I think.
Yeah, I actually find that I think my ice hockey, kind of everything you learn with that and playing for so long, is really probably the most beneficial on the gravel bike, because I have that balance, or like sliding in sand. Like I'm used to sliding on ice, so I'm only saying this because I've ridden with friends or my sister or others who, like, you come across maybe loose sand or kind of different bits like that, and your most initial reaction is to kind of get scared and freak out and slam the brakes on or slide or go down. And like I'm used to that sensation. So I don't necessarily get scared in areas where maybe it is for, say, a first time gravel rider or someone not used to riding off road. It can definitely be scary because you think you're going to go down or crash or so.
Well, that's tip number 1, Olly.
Well, make sure that you do lots of ice hockey before you get into gravel riding.
Sure. It's not that
exactly.
It's not that big in the Netherlands, and maybe also not as big in the UK.
Nor the
but
UK, I don't think.
It's a good tip. So we'll take that along, and all our listeners will probably are googling right now where the nearest ice hockey club in Europe is. So that's a good tip. Thank you very much.
The physicality of ice hockey probably is useful as well. The fact that you're used to crashing into people, and it's so you're good at judging distances, going high speed with someone right next to you is very handy no matter what cycling discipline you do.
It's fearless ice hockey. That's and well, keeping your balance probably is because ice skating is. We know a little bit about ice skating in the Netherlands, but not that much about ice hockey. But it's good. Yeah, it's balancing, I think.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. I know, because don't you guys just call it hockey, but it means field hockey.
Yeah, hockey is field hockey, and yeah. It's always difficult. We think that's a real sport in the Netherlands because we always we do well at the Olympics and the World Championship as field hockey is concerned.
Yes, exactly.
We actually had one ice hockey team. I can remember it was like ages ago at the Olympics, and was a Dutch team. They were at the Olympics, but I think 90% of that team was Canadian. So they all had Dutch parents, Dutch grandparents, and they just the local hockey foundation in the Netherlands just looked through the list. Which pros have a Dutch last name? Let's call them up. Let's invite them, and they did pretty well at that Olympics actually. But that's
awesome. I believe it.
So maybe we can do a spin-off, Olly, for ice hockey or field hockey podcast. But that's another story.
That's pretty niche.
Exactly. Yeah.
And,
so
you talked about your Unbound as a main goal. There's a great video out there on YouTube of your experience. It's really, I have to be hats off for the way that you take that in. Disappointment and still continue to race and make the best out of that day. So I was really inspiring to see that, because most people would have called it a day to say, well, okay, this is not going to happen today, because then, and I know it was a very, very, very difficult edition of Unbound this year with all the mud, the thunder, the rain. It was even finishing is an heroic achievement, I think. So hats off for that.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it was definitely a crazy day out there. I mean, as everyone who follows, I think, knows, there was insane mud. Only maybe, I think it was mile 10, like 10 miles in. It was just, we started the race. Everyone rolls out. Everyone's kind of together, and then it was like everyone knew it was coming, and we made this kind of slight right turn, and there it was. And I think it was probably worse than people were picturing. I don't know how many people pre-rode that area. Actually, I don't think, if anyone did, you weren't supposed to, because it was actually a farmer's private land. So that area wasn't open in the days prior. You had to reroute around in your pre-riding. So it was basically, here it is. And you're basically off your bike immediately. And it was unrideable for, I don't know how long it was, 4 or 5 miles. It was a long stretch of just pushing your bike and carrying your bike, because you couldn't actually even push it because the tires, all the mud in between your fork, and your tires wouldn't spin. And so you're carrying a bike that is now 50 pounds because it's so heavy from this mud. So it was just, the people that made it through unscathed equipment wise, I think, that was, I think you needed some luck. I think you needed just a better, for me, I get a lot, I've been asked a lot, what would I have done differently? And I thought I was being careful with my equipment, because I had a mechanical last year as well. This was my second time racing Unbound. I had a crash where it basically broke my wheel. So I came into Unbound this year like, a working bike is the fastest bike. And I was like, you have to take the extra little bit to be cautious if it's rocky or there's a stream crossing, or just avoid getting flats if you can, or, being that much more careful with the elements. And so with this, it was, I don't know if I could have done anything different. I thought I was being very cautious. I was taking the time to clear out my rear derailleur, clean out my chain and kind of front fork. But I don't know if it was just, basically my rear derailleur stopped working. And I've got a lot of it was just crash mode. It was this, it wasn't. I know how to get out of that. I reset everything. I unplugged everything. I think it was just fried, mud was in there. And the motor was just not working. So I basically got stuck in 1 year for that 60-mile stretch coming out of the mud around mile 15, or maybe it was 15 to 20, and then had to get to that first aid station where you're allowed to receive help. And that was, about 60 miles later. So
Did you have a spare derailleur then waiting for you in the tech section when you got there?
I have to give a major shout out to Canyon and Shimano, because they knew I was having issues, and they had a spare derailleur ready for me. So
Wow.
luckily it was just plugging that in, like getting a new one on there, and I was good to go, because another a friend, Anna Yamauchi, fellow Shimano rider, she was also at the Shimano tent, but she had I guess it was like inner bottom bracket. It was way more intensive. So I know she was in there for a good, I don't know, much longer, she said, because she was already there when I got there. And I felt so bad because they grabbed my bike, and mine was a quick, 5 or 6 minute shift, and I was able to get going again. But it was just, some people got lucky, I think, on the day, and then others had some issues. So it was kind of one of those. Yeah, I walked away kind of obviously frustrated, because it wasn't a showing of the fitness and training, but it's also like, that's what makes gravel racing exciting. And, a lot of people were like, oh, they shouldn't have had that mud section in. I mean, I didn't have a great day through it, but I wouldn't have changed it. I mean, I thought it made it such an epic day, and people will always be talking about this Unbound because of it. And I would have taken that again, just because it was so crazy. Like, that's what you sign up for with events like this. That's what you want. I mean, to have these crazy things thrown at you, and how you respond and get through them.
Apparently it was described as peanut butter mud, which is, I don't think it's something we get in Europe, but it doesn't sound fun.
Yeah, it's just thick. It's thick and sticky, and you can't get it off. Even like squirting your water bottle and trying to I had a paint stick, just scraping it off. It's just, whatever it sticks to whatever, all of a sudden it's on your hands if you're trying to pull it out of your fork area.
Okay. I think we'll cross that off our list, shall we, Carlo? That doesn't sound fun.
No. Field of Shattered Dreams, that's not something that I would sign up for. And I think I lost the pack already, after the first 10 miles. So
yeah.
I try to do
the other race that you've done this year, Heather, was the one that Pete Stettner put on, called Stettner's Pay Dirt. How was that?
That was the other one I was going to bring up, and I felt like I was just giving Pete shout out after shout out, but all of my best experiences this year have been with him. So between San Diego Belgian Waffle Ride, the Tennessee week I spent with him, and then his event, which is out in Carson City, Stettner's Pay Dirt, that again, that event will be on my calendar again next year. It was that awesome. I mean, I think that area, so it's in Nevada, and I think more people know maybe the Truckee, the Lake Tahoe area, which it's just on the other side of it. But even, I mean, I'm from the US, I'm from here, and I still you kind of associate Reno or Carson City, not really sure, I guess, or I didn't know, I had never been there, but it was some of the best riding I've ever done, in terms of just how cool it was, the scenery, you're in the mountains, but also the variety. So how his race works is, it was more, I don't know if there's a term for this type of racing, but it was 3 time segments. And so the race itself was about 70 miles, but only 3 bits of it in there were timed. So the rest of it, you could ride with friends, you could cruise, you could chat, and then you just kind of would go for those other sections. And so the first section was, it was this big, long, sustained climb on some unbelievable gravel in the mountains, kind of went over the top of a mountain, and then the descent was in it as well. So you had to climb and descend, and then timing stopped, and everyone kind of regrouped at this aid station, and we all kind of cruised as a group to the next one. The next one was a 10-mile single track loop. So a mixture of that, where you had to be able to ride the single track, and then you kind of regroup, got some aid, and then the final section was another mountain climbing, but mixed with single track. You're in beautiful woods, beautiful scenery, and all 3 of these stages were were completely different. So I thought it was a great event in terms of just having 3-time segments. It was different for me than just like, okay, here's a 70-mile race all out from the start, never stopping.
Yeah.
You got to see so much of the area and the variety it offered. And then it had more of that laid back kind of fun feel. So the overall weekend is just nothing but good memories from that whole time.
I would say that would be like the Grand Euro style, as we, the Grand Euros
Just
also
like
have
Grand
those.
Euro, that was what I was thinking.
It's max and relaxing.
I've never done one of those, but that's what I've heard. That's how it's like.
Yeah, I think
we'll have to get you an invite for next year then.
Yeah, totally. I'm. There's so many events out there. It's so hard to pick. There's so many like cool ones that I'm like pulling up of. Oh my god, that would be super fun.
We're always around at Grand Euro.
Yeah.
Okay.
That leads very neatly onto our next question, actually, Heather, which is what are you planning for the rest of the year? What are your goals?
Yeah, so I'm literally kind of plotting it out right now, trying to kind of get that mixture that I had at the start of the year, which was like, okay, one big event, or I was targeting Unbound, but a fun mixture of so many other events out there, and kind of helping with the prep for that. And so, yeah, I'm still kind of plugging it in. I mean, I am a part of the Lifetime Grand Prix series. That being said, some of the upcoming events don't necessarily suit me, so I'm kind of trying to pick out which ones to hit or not. There's a mountain bike race in there I think it's 40 mile. I mean, it's a short one. It's really not suitable, I would say.
Okay.
So kind of trying to just plot around those. I'll definitely be at one of the big ones I am targeting is you guys mentioned the Finland race earlier. There's of the same I guess organization is Steamboat. No vowels in there. So SBT. It's a big Canyon and Wahoo event in August, and I'm really targeting that one. It looks beautiful. It looks very suitable to me. It's mountainous rolling gravel roads, but nothing crazy technical. So I'll be at SBT. I'm looking at, there's Gravel National, there's two different, there's Gravel Worlds in Nebraska. There's also a new event here in the US, Gravel Nationals, where they've put up a rainbow jersey. I'm still kind of learning that aspect of cycling. We don't have that in triathlon, but it does look like a great course for me. It's long. I think it's 150 or 160 miles rolling Nebraska terrain. So kind of looking at maybe including that event if it worked. There's a couple more BWR events. There's one in Kansas that everyone raves about. And then I'm also just trying to find those kind of like local, fun, lower key events that aren't really like the big headlines, but are probably some of the more fun and more kind of, just grassroots. You get to ride with everyone and see new areas. So, still plotting out the exact schedule. Okay. So if you guys have any recommendations, but I'll also be at the RAD is part of the Lifetime, which is in Trinidad, Colorado, and then Big Sugar, which is in Bentonville, Arkansas, end of the year. So those are definitely on there.
Do you think will you come across to Europe and do the UCI Worlds? Is that on your list, or are you going to stay in America this year?
Well, I think you have to place at the nationals maybe to get into that, or I'm not sure how. I still have to figure out how that works, but that's the one that's in September. And then I would look at that one, which, I mean, anything.
I think there's an American qualifier also, or maybe even a couple of American qualifiers. Yeah, because that's the biggest thing in Europe now is everybody's trying to qualify for the UCI Worlds. This year it's in Veneto. Next year it will be in Belgium.
That's cool.
And only the fact that if you already qualify is like that's a win, because it's pretty difficult to qualify. But it's I think it adds something to the whole scene in Europe that people really, and I think it exploded over the last year, Olly. because gravel. We've been doing Gravel Union for a couple of years, I think 5 years already, but we've seen it the whole gravel scene growing, exploding more the last year. So a lot of pros entering the game, a lot of elite riders switching over or doing it next to the road season. But you're more than welcome to join us in Europe for events, because we also have some awesome events over here.
Awesome. Yeah, no, it's on my list for planning out next year of, so many cool events for sure.
Great. Should we talk about planning and preparation next? So we'll take whichever event you want to think about. If you're targeting something big, say in September, you want to go to the US Worlds, what preparation and planning would you do for an event of that size?
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of approached it very much how I approached my triathlon career. And for me, that meant Kona was the goal, and everything, before that was secondary or purposely put in there for helping me get to Kona as best ready as I could. And so I've kind of done that the same, kind of switching into gravel. And I did that the first half of the year with Unbound, kind of working backwards from your key event. So for me now, like you guys just asked the next key events, I'm trying to really focus on, okay, which one do I really want to go after? Because the gravel racing I'm seeing, there are so many, like you could race every weekend if you wanted. And that's where I'm getting kind of caught up in like, okay, but which one do you really want to go after? Because then use that as your target and work back from there training wise so that you reach a peak and you reach and that event like fresh, ready, primed to do your best. Maybe that does include racing every weekend and you're racing into shape. I think it's learning what works best for you over the years. And so, for instance, if I wanted to target gravel nationals early September, I would work back from there. That would mean I think we're at like 8 weeks out now, and kind of plot. I think with that, I would have 2 bigger blocks, 2 blocks of 3 weeks, and then a recovery week, and then another 3 weeks, and then the taper week into the race week. And that's just to overload in the 3 weeks of training. And within each week of the 3 weeks, I just include the key types of work, and that's usually 2 to 3 long days in the saddle, maybe some strength work in there, big gear climbing, or just using the terrain that you're riding. And then 2 days in there of the week that are really specific. If it's change of pace work, which is really something I've been targeting this year coming from triathlon, I don't have that like snap and change of pace. So a lot of 40 seconds all out, 20 seconds recovery, 40-20s over and over. What else? Like a 30-second all out effort into a 15-minute tempo effort with a sprint every 2 minutes to really, again, simulate that change of leg speed. So maybe 2 workouts of that a week, combined with the longer days, maybe a strength day, and then a couple of easier days that are just light spins. And you do a 3-week block where you just know that the second week your legs are going to start fatiguing, and then third week you're going to really feel it too. And so every week you get more tired, and then you take that recovery week and let all that training sink in before starting another block. So my race, it is key, obviously, to pick those race goals and which race you want to target, because like sometimes races fall within that 2 or 3 weeks where you're doing work, and maybe you want to sub in a race as that longer day and you get that longer effort, but maybe it's not something you're really keying in on result wise and want to be your freshest and tapered for. So that's how triathlon has always worked. I think, but it is a lot less racing. So again, this is where I'm getting like, oh, I want to do this event. And I don't think like some of those you might show up for tired if you are going every weekend. So
yeah. Presumably Wahoo is helping you, or did you have a separate coach, or do you do it through Wahoo coaching?
Well, Wahoo and I guess more specifically Ian Boswell has been helping since, I would say this fall through the winter, and then a lot this spring of kind of plotting in. He has more given me some key workouts to really hit and plotting those in each week, and then just checks in a lot of like, how's it going? How are you feeling? And he came out to Tucson this spring and trained with me for a week. And that was just super cool. I mean, he's obviously one of the best in the world and such a nice guy. So Wahoo as an extension, Ian, but
Okay.
it is on my list to get out to the Wahoo lab that's in Boulder. They do a lot of the testing and really dive into specifics, which I kind of did that in Try, and it's been a nice little break to not be like as, I guess, scientific, where you maybe will lose some of the enjoyment of the gravel racing. But I do have background in, really dialing in like specific lactate and zones and lactate training. But so far this year, I've kept it a little bit more, I guess, not as.
More fun.
But there's also a big difference in, because you probably, you talked about the change of scenery, literally. As a triathlete, you will do time trial training. That's like pushing big gears. Is it also refreshing there? How do you compare that? Looking a year, last year and now, what are the differences? Because your pacing also will be different in a race.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, time trialing and also triathlon specifically, you really target lower cadence time trialing because you want to save your legs for the run. You have a marathon to run off. And so for me, I'm used to riding, 70, 75 RPM for 5 hours, just at one pace, like 200 watts for 5 hours. Like I've dialed that in over the last 10 years, but with gravel racing, maybe at the end of the day, your average power for the 6 hour day, the 7 hour day is around there, 200 to 210, 220. I've seen around there for these 7 hour events, but I apologize. My puppy. Hey, sorry, listeners.
Never mind.
So it is the same power type, but that is, you achieve it way differently. You're spiking to over 300, and then recovering when you're in the pack or you're on descents, like maybe it's 0, because you're descending. In triathlon, you're on the power for those 5 hours straight. So it's a different way of kind of coming to similar numbers, I guess, but training yourself to get there now for me is very different. And it is refreshing to your question because I did the same workouts for so long, and now I have something new to do of like, okay, I'm not good at higher cadence. Even Ian has given me just some cadence work where I struggle to get over 100 RPM spinning because I'm just not used to it.
And the interaction with other riders, because, doing triathlons, then you're like, this is completely also a battle against yourself, but you're now battling against your opponents. And that cycling, they're also helpers, but sometimes then it will turn out as a battle. Well, at the end, it always does. How do you feel the differences there?
Yeah, it's been interesting. Definitely trying to navigate that because triathlon, it's very individual. I mean, you are racing other competitors, but at the end of the day, like it's down to you and if you have a good day or not, or if you nail your nutrition or not, or you nailed your taper and you're fresh and firing on the race day. I mean, it's not really affected by anyone else. I mean, you can pull maybe a little bit deeper out if you're in a battle with someone on the run and you're running side by side with someone, but there's no tactics. I mean, there are tactics, but it's what you can do. In bike racing or the gravel racing, you have that group dynamics where people are kind of, making those tactical moves. Or are they attacking on a climb? Are they trying to get into a certain group? And then you find yourself maybe with a group of other women. This has happened in the races this year where I'm with 2 or 3 other women. And are you working together Are you like, exchanging pulls? And then you kind of develop that camaraderie, or you're with a group, but then it is still a race. And so then like, are they going to attack at any moment? It's definitely a weird, not weird, but a different, mentality for me as a racer, because you are trying to read all of that all the time. So, it's been, to your question, it's been it's been a learning experience for sure.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Should we talk about tech next? And we'll talk about your bike, or bikes probably. How has the switch been to going for it? Because obviously a time trial bike is very specific, and a gravel bike in comparison is different beast altogether. Are you happy with it so far? What have you learned from riding a gravel bike?
Yeah, the biggest shout out ever to Canyon, just for their support, not only this year in gravel, where I hadn't raced gravel and they took a chance on me, but to everything with helping me bike wise. I have a very, set position that I've raced in on my TT bike for so long that I probably use different muscles than maybe road racing women use, just because of the difference in bike. But every single bike this year, Canyon has been so helpful in like getting me specific parts so that I can ride exactly where I like to ride. And I know that's a little bit further forward than most people, like a little bit further forward over the bottom bracket, because I use a lot more glutes, a lot more of the time trialing, muscles than the road riding. So every bike that I have the opportunity to ride on, they've been so great in helping me get that. So a lot of my bikes are set up very much in the same, style as a TT bike, but minus the aero bars up front, obviously.
No disc wheel, slightly bigger tires.
Exactly. Yeah.
Great. What's next on our list of exciting questions? I know a good one. If you were going to give someone a tip, if they were going to start gravel racing for the first time, what would be your top tip?
Next to ice hockey.
To ice hockey.
Oh, top tip.
Maybe what's the most useful thing that Ian Boswell has taught you so far, or has suggested that you do? Is that perhaps there's some nugget of advice that he's given you?
I think, Ian's given me so much incredible advice training wise, of just like, I think the biggest thing Ian's helped with is just confidence of like, okay, you can ride with them. You just have to work on these things, but you need to like assert yourself at the starts and have that confidence to ride with these women, because for me, it's very similar to a swim start in the race, where it's very scary. Like these mass starts are super scary. The first 10 miles are always the scariest, and similar with the swim, those first 500 meters are the worst, because it determines like what group you're in, who's, and then in the gravel side, whose wheel you get on, or what group you make or don't, especially these races where men and women start together. I mean, it's just this mayhem to start with. So Ian's helped a lot with that for sure. I think my advice for like someone looking to try one would be probably just to find one that looks super fun, that you're excited about, versus maybe some of these bigger ones that are like, some of these gravel events are becoming like these big road events now. Like that's how big they're becoming. And maybe that's, I know for me, and I'm a professional, very intimidating. So maybe start with, like a Stetna's pay dirt. That was incredible. I think it would be a great first timer event, because you're timed for 3 segments. You don't have to, maybe the distance of some of these events might be a little intimidating as well, versus knowing, okay, you can regroup and ride with your friends in between, and then just push these, half hour to 1 hour segments, regroup again, and just enjoy it and take your time, and not, I think, myself riding with some people who aren't as experienced off-road, I think if you take like one little fall or one little slide out or you crash, like it can be very scary and make you not want to get back on there because you don't want to like crash again, versus like taking your time and enjoying it and seeing what gravel provides, the ability to get off road, get in the woods, get in nature, get off busy roads, like not get hit by cars and not be kind of set back because maybe you have a crash. I mean, crashes are going to happen. You're off road, you're riding, not on smooth pavement, but take your time, I think, especially coming from triathlon or maybe road cyclists, where maybe you're used to pumping up your tires very high, which is something I come from, that it has taken me forever to go from like 40 PSI down to 30, down to even like 20 now, because I'm like, no, I need to go fast. But when you experiment with that and see, okay, maybe less tire pressure, you're going to get a smoother ride, you're going to have more grip. Don't be scared to try that out as a newcomer, especially if you're coming from, say, triathlon.
Yeah.
Great. There's loads of good tips in there. But yeah, tire pressure, I think, would be a really good one. It's dead simple also, and it makes a huge difference.
The segments is also a good idea, because we have a lot of segment races over in Europe, because it's harder to get permits to do a longer race. Like Grind Euro or LTD Gravel Raid over in the end of September. And like you can try that out and see every segment as a mini race where you can take, the learnings from even one stage into the other stage, and talk, straight after a segment, you can talk to one another, say, well, okay, I made a mistake there, or what did you do there? I think that's it's a great idea to approach, even if you want to step up to A to Z races. I think that's, I didn't look at it from that angle, but I think it's a good idea. If people want to get into racing, they can try it out.
There's many races in there that you can just, totally. You learn something new every time you ride. And like you're saying, you can regroup, like evaluate how you felt, how were the tires, how is this or that, and change for the next little mini race. Yeah,
because that's not something that you do in a proper race. Your mindset is also like, I have to go. And with the segment races, it's it's easier. It's not easier because it will be hard, but you can evaluate in between the segments. I think that's a very good tip.
Yeah,
Olly, I think we should be rounding things off. I'm not a director because we don't have a director, but maybe
well, in which case, we got
one final question.
One last question. Okay, so Heather, what do you do to take up your time when you're not out on the bike? What's your favorite way of spending your spare time?
Walk the dog, probably.
Exactly.
Yes?
Yeah, I spend a lot of time with my puppy. I've always wanted a dog.
You ride with her a lot, don't you, as well? We've seen pictures where she's on your back in a rucksack.
Exactly. That's why it's tough when you say when you're not on the bike, because...
Yeah, because you're always on the bike.
Yeah, I'm always on the bike. If I'm not like training on a hard training ride, I'm usually still on a bike, probably even just out exploring or taking her out, because for her walks, I'll ride. We live on some good woods here, but there's trails just like 3 miles away. So I'll put her on my back and ride the 3 miles over, and then she can literally just run through the woods, and I'll just ride on my mountain bike and let her run and enjoy. I just like being outside and being,
great
in nature. I also I do trail run a bit as well, but,
You've done some huge trail runs, haven't you, as well? Didn't you do a 100-mile one just when you'd finished doing triathlon?
Yeah, that was my first, first one last year, right after Kona. So
it was a 100-mile trail run.
100 miles.
That's bonkers.
For the Europeans, that's 160 kilometers, which is it's ridiculous.
It's a long way.
Yes.
Well, thank you very, very much, Heather, for being on our podcast. Lots of interesting stuff. Maybe we can check in next year to see how everything is going. But I think, Olly, the time has come for our famous outro. hasn't it? So there we go for the bumper. Well, thank you all for joining in on our this month's edition of Gravel Union Talks. Heather, thanks again. Olly, also thanks for your journalistic input. If you have any suggestions for topics that you would like us to feature in our shows, please post a comment on our Facebook, send us an Instagram message, or send us an email, info@gravelunion.cc. Please like and star us on your favorite podcast platform and make sure to leave your hopefully positive remarks. Don't forget, if you like what you've heard in this episode, there's loads more great stories, features and news pieces and all the latest gravel event information over on the website gravelunion.cc. Special thanks to Martijn also for designing our very own music and jingles, and Ruben for editing the show. Thanks for listening, and I hope you can join us again for the next episode of Gravel Union Talks. I'll see you in Newcastle, Olly. Bye-bye. Cheers.
Great.